off when we've both been in. We've been watching the old Traitors. Claudia Winkleman did the UK version. We've been watching the Australian version on catch up. Watched the final last night.
Everson bowling, cut away here out towards deep point for a single.
Yeah, so I shan't say any more in case anybody else is watching it and is partially through. But if you watch the Claudia Winkleman version, there are available the American version and now also the Australian version, and they're both equally as good. Got a little bit hooked on that. It passes 3/4 of an hour or so when there's nothing else on the box.
Yeah, all of those on BBC iPlayer. This one's turned away into the onside. All of the county commentaries, of course, available on the BBC Sport app and website. The live blog today. Who's on duty? Jed Scott, Adam Lanigan, Ben Koski. Lancashire continuing to put runs on the board against Northamptonshire. Century stand for the Price brothers at Cheltenham. Gloucestershire against Worcestershire. Midday inspection at Scarborough after they were particularly badly hit by the rain yesterday, as this one is left alone outside the off stump. A bit of extra bounce for Joey Everson. I wonder if maybe Jack Leaning might have to take himself out of the attack in the next over. He's been a bit expensive so far. And there's a second 11 friendly, 50 overs at Beckenham today. If you're a Kent fan and not far away, you can head down there and see a few first team players in action, which is good to see from a fitness point of view for the likes of Daniel Bell-Drummond.
You'd imagine that might be a white ball game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Get people ready for the One Day Cup.
This one a way swinger from Joey Everson, beauty that beats the outside edge of Will Young's bat. Yeah, Daniel Bell-Drummond, first involvement for him since that hamstring injury at the back end of the T20 blast. The same week that he scored the 100 against Northants. He's playing in that. Marcus O'Riordan's playing in that.
Will he be available for the One Day Cup, Daniel, or is he signed up for the 100?
He's a wildcard pick for the 100.
Yeah.
So here comes Joey Everson. Skipping down the pitch, Will Young defends into the offside. Dot ball to win the over. Marcus O'Riordan captaining that Kent 2's team, and then Sam Billings is keeping wicket for that team. So effectively, yes, it is warming Bell-Drummond and Billings up for the 100.
And who are they playing?
Playing against Essex. But obviously there is the situation this year where players, if they're not playing in the 100, they can come back to play in the One Day Cup, which will be interesting to see the various.
Well, it's been interesting to keep half an eye on that, obviously from the Kent perspective, but also Notts play Essex first match.
Okay, so the likes of Robin Das, two Allisons, Buttleman, Aaron Nidjar captaining the team, Richards the quick bowler, Aaron Beard. So a good number of Essex players you'd expect to play in the One Day Cup involved.
Leaning's had 2 overs out of the attack. It's Arshdeep Singh bowling to Joe Clark. Might not be quite as easy for Clark and Will Young just to rotate the strike or smash the living daylights out of Arshdeep Singh, as they were trying to do against Leaning. First ball is pitched up and Clark digs it out.
This
202 for 2.
Arshdeep's last spell in a Kent shirt for the time being.
It could, and of course the other issue with Arshdeep is he's got to quickly get back to his mark, because it is still showing as -1. Kent won't want Notts to troop off at some point, and they're behind on the over rate. Oh my word, I said Clark might just find it a little more difficult. He stands there admiring that hoisted shot down the ground. 1 bounce for 4. Down over, well, a wide-ish, long on position, wide-ish mid-wicket in the other direction, and towards the Hound Road stand. 1 bounce 4. 206 for 2. Lofted beautifully away. Clark, the freedom really just to go out and express himself when he's usually at his best. 19 from 10 balls, and suddenly fielders are sent hither and thither, here, there and everywhere. Let's have a look. No close catches now. Harry Finch has got nobody to talk to. There are 1, 2, 3 out on the leg side fence, 2 out on the offside fence, mid on and mid off a push back deep. Clark pulls this one onto the leg side, through the leg side, and it's a good stop on the fence there. A couple of fielders out there just about managed to prevent it going for 4, and the fielder's down hurt here, I think. Alex Blake going over. Who's that down hurt?
I think it's Geddes.
Oh, he's got up, and yeah, he's made a Surrey steel. Gets up ringing his right hand, arm, wrist area.
Doesn't want to injure himself though ahead of playing for his actual county in the One Day Cup, I'm sure.
No, well, he won't want to injure himself ahead of potentially a lengthy opportunity to bat later today. Archdeep singing and bowls short, and Clark will help this on its way for more runs. 4 down nice and fine, just down here below us. Runs are coming. This will be a worry for Kent because Nott's lead is already up to 246, 212 for 2, and Clark is rattling along, 25 not out from 12.
Yeah, gone from the spin of leaning to the pace of Archdeep, and neither have been able to stem the runs so far. A bit of extra pace onto the ball being enjoyed at the moment.
Had 36 runs already this morning and a wicket. Not been playing 20 minutes yet. Next delivery on its way, and Clark will just take a single this time. It's banged in short by Archdeep Singh. It sat up there for Clark, but he just controlled it, played it down into the gap, dabbed it into the gully region and took a single.
Yeah, looks like Joe Clark's in full one-day mode.
Stephen Mullaney came in at 5 in the first innings, and guessing should a wicket go down would continue to do so because he likes to score at a healthy rate. Tom Moores similarly, so there might be a little bit of punishment here for Kent if they are unable just to keep taking wickets. Another single. Will Young helps it down to long leg, and that's the end of Archdeep's comeback over, which started well but threatened to get out of hand towards the end of it. 214 for 2, Notts lead by 248. Already a partnership of 37 between Joe Clark, who's on 26, and Will Young, who's on 44. Another anniversary today, 28th of July 1977, appropriately enough. It was the first day of an Ashes test match here at Trent Bridge, and the Queen came on the first morning.
Joey Everson in and bowling. Punched off the back foot by Young. Goes for a quick single up towards mid-on. Good running.
And obviously introduced to all the players, including Nottinghamshire's Derek Randall, and it's well before your time, Ben, but it's entered into sort of folklore in these parts for the wrong reasons, because round about that time Derek Randall was almost the equivalent of David Beckham in his pomp. He was in this part of the world, he was the local hero, he was the big star, the superstar. And Jeff Boycott ran him out in that test match.
Everson bowls. Joe Clark goes for a ramp shot and doesn't make contact with the ball.
So he certainly wasn't hugely popular for that error of judgment. I think I'm right in saying, I'll look it up, but I think I'm right in saying Boycott went on to partially redeem himself by getting 100. Just find the scorecard for you.
Everson bowls once more, straight up in the air this time from Joe Clark. Should be caught by Archdeep at mid-off. Oh, and he's dropped him. That's an absolute dolly. And they come back for 2 as well.
I've got as far as writing C-R-A-R because as it was in the air, I'm watching him and I'm also writing it. It was so much of a dolly. As I say, I'd already begun to write it. Extraordinary. Why has he dropped that? No reason whatsoever.
So easy. Didn't concentrate fully on taking the catch, clearly, as this one's down the leg side. I think maybe a bit of disappointment carrying over from his previous over. Maybe he's thinking about bowling and what he's going to do, and just took his halfie at the last minute. Can happen when they're pretty straightforward like that, but you really would expect him to take that, really should have taken that. Wickets will take time out of the game for Kent. Instead, Clark is down the pitch and smashing this through the covers for 4. Not the way you want to set the tone early on a final day. Everson's bowled really well, got a wicket already, should have had another one. Instead, goes for another boundary here. Clark to 32 from just 17.
I was writing and looking, done a lot of things. If we're able to get a replay at the end of the over of that drop, it'd be great.
Everson bowls once more, really full this time, and Clark drives out into the onside rather. Coming back for two, really good running. Toby Albert, the fielder. Joey Everson very disappointed as he takes his cap and his jumper.
Nicely put. Not amused at all. Real positivity from this pair. 223 for 2. Notts lead by 257.
Mike Taylor getting in touch. Mike from Soho Square saying, good morning guys, thank you for the coverage for the past few days. I was so disappointed with Kent losing their last 5 wickets in a few overs yesterday. There was an element of Yahoo batting, lobbing the ball into the air for catching practice from the tail when we needed to bat time out of the game and earn a batting point at 350 runs. Could be a big collapse from Kent second innings. Can't really see us staying up. Well, Mike not feeling particularly optimistic this morning. Arshdeep ready to come in. I mean, just to caveat that, I don't think you can really expect too much from 8, 9, 10, 11. They're all basically numbers 10 and 11.
Arshdeep bowls short and almost a tennis overhead smash by Will Young down the ground for a single. Yes, that test match at Trent Bridge back in 1977 here. England won quite comfortably in the end. Australia batted first, 243, and then Derek Randall was run out for 13, but Boycott went on to score 107, so partially forgiven, and it all turned out well in the end, England winning. But it was on this day, 1977, first day of the match, Her Majesty the Queen was here on the ground. Arshdeep Singh bowls. Oh, is it Clark on the pad? That's very, very close, I would imagine. They've run through for a single, and it is going to be a leg by. So Joe Clark might just have got a little bit fortunate there.
Maybe it was missing leg stump. He was coming from a bit wider on the crease, around the wicket. But yeah, just to clarify further on Mike's email, as much as I agree with you that the tail needed to bat time, I don't think they were particularly confident in their own defence up against the leg spin and the other quality from the likes of Patterson. So really they were thinking the best way of getting to 350 was to try and get after the spinner.
Arshdeep bowls and Young plays it into the offside. Mandy Clark feeling very sad for Ben. Over to you now, Mr. Young, also Mr. Clark as well. Richard Dawson, Dave, there are only 5 days of cricket at Trent Bridge left this year. 1 County Championship, 1 Royal London. The season seems to have flown by. Of course, there is a little bit of other activity here at Trent Bridge. Of course, there's a couple of England games, a 50 over match against Ireland, a T20 against New Zealand. 226 for 2. Round the wicket comes Arshdeep, and well, it was a delivery then had all the pace taken off it, and Joe Clark had to wait about a fortnight for the ball to reach him, and then when he did, he tapped it away on the leg side, fielded by Leaning, and the 50 partnership comes up from 40 balls. Thank you, Richard.
35 of them from Joe Clark. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the other tournament that's taking place here, you can't move in the city without seeing an advert for it. There's marketing all over the place, on lamp posts and posters everywhere. 227
for 2. Young is on 47. Arshdeep round the wicket, bowls. Young pushes it into the offside, and there's no run. Yes, a real shame. There's no red ball cricket at all through the month of August here at Trent Bridge.
And just in terms of the women's 100, they've lost a couple of their star players with the withdrawal this morning of Elise Perry and Alyssa Healy due to injuries. So that's a real blow for that tournament. Certainly the women's competition is the one where you could say there were genuine world stars in it, and to lose 2 of them is a real shame.
228 for 2. Arshdeep Singh to bowl to Clark, moving about in the crease, and then he absolutely smashes it away for 4 through wideish mid-wicket. There's Jazz Singh putting in a brave and despairing dive to try and stop the ball, but it was through him and into the boards. 232 for 2, just coming up to half an hour's play this morning, and 24, 26, 56 runs for the loss of Ben Slater. That was the disappointment from the Notts perspective. Ben Slater, final ball of the first over, got down onto strike for the first time. Will Young rotating the strike, and Slater was out, caught behind by Finch. Bowling of Joey Everson, who's continued to perform admirably. Should have had a second wicket in the last over. Clark was dropped on 26, he's now on 39, but Young on strike on 46. We'll cut this to backward point and there's no run. So just 2 matches in Division 1. Lancashire and Northants is the other one at Old Trafford. Northants in their second innings 200 behind, 2 without loss. And in Division 2, Derbyshire Glamorgan on day 4, Gloucestershire Worcestershire day 3, and no play yet at Scarborough. No play before lunch, in fact, as a singles taken here by Young to move on to 47, 233 for 2. Derbyshire's second innings 100 without loss. They still trail Glamorgan by 103. And at Cheltenham, Gloucestershire 233 for 6, replying to Worcestershire's 406. Joey Everson to bowl to Joe Clark. Slammed away into the offside. Single to Clark. Takes him to 40 from just 22 deliveries. 234 for 2. Not sure what that applause was for. I put 57 on. No idea. 234 for 2. Down the leg side is 4 runs here, but it's going to be leg buys. So Will Young will stay on 49. But 4 more to the total. 238 for 2. Notts lead by 272. Lots of noises, as they say, off mic in the background. Can no longer see the road. Just going to do an update for Radio Nottingham. Where the runs are coming thick and fast this morning for Nottinghamshire. They're in a scenario where they are looking to get as many as they can, take that lead up if they can towards 300, and then try and bowl Kent out for the victory. The applause you can hear in the background is for a splendid half-century for Will Young, the New Zealander, playing his last match for Notts. It's come from 49 balls, but at the other end, the real impetus supplied by Joe Clark, who's on 40. Notts lead by 273. They're at 239 for 2. Next ball is forced down to third man for a single by Joe Clark, and as he played it, his bat came completely out of his hand, so he gets a single, runs down to the other end, minus his bat, which is picked up and is going to be returned to him by Will Young. 240 for 2. So that's the end of the over. 274 is the lead. So Will Young on to what's been a very good 50. Hit a couple of sixes last night, 3 4s and 2 6s. There is 49 ball half century. Going to be Arshdeep Singh to carry on from the pavilion end. Port still showing us Kent -1 on the over 8. 240 for 2. Lots of cloud cover. Floodlights aren't on yet. Arshdeep bowls. Clark pulls it again. Square of the wicket for 4. 2 fielders out. 1 square of the wicket, 1 at deep mid wicket. And he's completely bisected him. There was enough force on that ball that neither could get anywhere near it. Nice shot from Joe Clark. 244 for 2. And merest mention of floodlights, and on they come. It is gloomy. Not at all surprised that the lights have been turned on. Let's hope there's some brighter weather around the corner and it gets here soon. We don't want, I suppose if you're a Kent Persuasion you might have a different view, but again, in terms of watching cricket, a full day's cricket, we don't want any interruptions. Clark will swat this away through the offside, over the offside, and has it gone all the way? If it has, it's going to be a 50. It has. Joe Clark gets a half century. That is brutal hitting, his 3rd 6, and that's wonderful stuff from Clark. Should have been caught on 26 with Arshdeep Singh putting down a little bit of a dolly, but he's got there 25 balls, 6 4s and 2 6s. And Nottinghamshire pressing on. It's also brought the 250 up. 250 for 2. And this over has begun 4 and now 6. Arshdeep round the wicket. Clark digs it out. Will just take the run. All the fielders are back, bar Jack Leaning, the skipper, who's up at backward point, but was nowhere near him. So 251 for 2. The lead is 285. And talking earlier at the start of the day, I was saying Notts might look to bat until 12:30. Young Ben, to my right, was having none of it. He said they'll be done by 12 o'clock, Dave, and that may be it. They've absolutely galloped along this morning.
Might be even earlier than both of us anticipated.
There's Arshdeep bowling a... Oh, that's going to be 2 to the total, surely. Yep, no ball. It was banged in his own half of the wicket by Arshdeep Singh, and it just sails over the top of Will Young. Needed the step ladders to reach that. 253 for 2, and again, as we saw last night, the 7-ball overs don't do anything to help the Kent over 8 cause. Ben Slater dismissed this morning for 87. 253 for 2. Next delivery on its way now, and that's a lovely bit of football from Will Young. He's played it down into the ground, and it was almost a Harry Brook moment as the ball came down inches or so from hitting the stumps, and he's been able to half volley it away to safety.
I think that's possibly the best bit of football I've ever seen from a batter.
Yeah.
Because that was going onto his stumps, and he had to get that absolutely perfect to deflect it away, and that was a delightful touch.
So composed, wasn't it? 253 for 2. Arshdeep in to bowl to Will Young. Reverts to cricket for this ball and pushes it onto the onside for another single. 254 for 2. It was deflected down into the ground, hard bounce up into the air, and it was going to come down, and it bounced just a matter of an inch or two away from the stumps, and his next port of call would be to clatter into the stumps, but he just managed to get there in time and half volley it away to safety. 254 for 2. Arshdeep into his 13th over, round the wicket, bowls, and Joe Clark says have some of that, drives it 250 yards down the fairway for 6. Massive hit from Clark into the pavilion, and it's going to be retrieved, I think, by a steward who's in fact, it's in that gap between the pavilion and the Batman board. There it is, bouncing around on the concrete, and they're going to fetch it back. 260 for 2.
Well, runs galore here, runs galore at Old Trafford. So apparently the Lancashire, Northamptonshire pitch that they're using is the one they used for the Ashes test. So it's now the 8th day of use for the pitch. Over 2,000 runs have been scored on it. 6 batters have made centuries. Obviously Zach Crawley made 189, the Kent batter, and then Johnny Bairstow got 99 as well. So what a deck to bat on. Lancashire, of course, having declared, and Northamptonshire 7 without loss. Everson bowling here then. Young tickles this away down towards fine leg for 4. Kent just can't find any way of stopping the runs flowing at the moment. Joey Everson's bowled pretty well this morning, but even he now is leaking a few runs.
I've seen sides with this sort of intent, obviously to set the game up for themselves many times over the years, including Notts many times, but I don't think I've seen one do it as well as this. Certainly I can't recall Notts doing it as well as this.
Everson bowls once more, floodlights on. This one's angled down towards third man. Good bit of fielding out there in the deep by Alex Blake, so just 1 run taken.
It's an expensive drop from Arshdeep. Clark was on 26 at the time. 265 for 2, so they've added 89 in, what, 38 minutes?
Yeah, I wondered if 300 might be the target they'd want to get a lead, but because they've done it so quickly, maybe they will go on that little bit longer. Smashed down the ground by Clark, short of Arshdeep at mid-off.
Of course, their weather apps, their weather intelligence, likely to be a bit more scientific than ours, Ben. They might have some real intelligence as to if we are going to get any delays or stoppages or not.
Everson too young. Good delivery, squared him up a touch. goes out towards point for a single because Kent have got pretty much everyone out on the boundary now.
After this over, there'll be 85 overs remaining in the day, because we'd, assuming there's a declaration, we'd lop 2 overs off that. So not really going to have much of an opportunity with a second new ball.
Everson bowls, goes for a little ramp around the corner and gets it. It was a slower ball and just helps it on its way. Here, Joe Clark. He's absolutely raced on to 63 from 29 balls. 271 for 2, and the lead up to 305 now.
I mean, we always say that, don't we, about the second new ball, but there's, as we've seen in the past, there's nothing to stop sides bowling at 20 overs an hour and earning a chance with a second new ball, but it tends not to happen.
Everson forcefully struck back up the pitch towards mid-on. Are they going to declare here? No sign at the moment of any movement or waving from the boundary. Up in that top tier of the pavilion, the Nottinghamshire changing room.
Declared now they'd have 83 overs, or a minimum of 83 overs, but no, they're going to go on, and Kent respond by making a bowling change. Jazz Singh is just going to try and maybe pick up a cheap wicket or 2 at the end of the day, or the end of the innings.
Yeah, Arshdeep's done, and his last involvement for Kent may well be with the bat, which, if it does get down to that, I would suggest it could be some nervy moments for Kent supporters if Arshdeep has to bat today. So Jazz Singh then.
Seeing them bowls down the leg side, and Joe Clark will feel he's missed out on that one. It was a real old loosener from Jazz.
It's not a bad line to bowl, to be honest, in this format. Sometimes those are the ones that are tricky to get away in one day cricket. You get a wide for them, but...
Well, yeah, he's got a man at long leg, another man at deep backward square. But Clark this morning has made a very good job of bisecting the fielders with anything he's hit towards the rope. Here's Jazz Singh in again from the pavilion end at Trent Bridge, and Clark does pull it out this time. 2 deep backward square, will only be a single. 273 for 2, the lead 307. Young was on 33 when Clark came out to bat, and already Clark is way past his New Zealand teammate. Young 57, Clark 65. Jazz Singh to bowl to Will Young. Drops it on the leg side. The call is 2. They will easily come back for that second run. The crowd tend to like things like that, as you can hear. Show of real intent, good running, purposeful cricket. And Will Young on to 59, 275 for 2, the lead 309 here on BBC Radio Nottingham. BBC Radio Kent, Dave Bracegirdle and Ben Watts. So we'd love to hear from you at Brace Cricket, at Ben Watts Sport. Jazz Singh bowls and Clark will get a boundary. As I was just saying about finding the gaps between 2 fielders, bisected them nicely on the leg side, and that is the century partnership from 65 balls. Will Young 30 of that century partnership, Joe Clark 65, obviously a handful of extras as well.
I mean, as it's turned out, Ben Slater getting out was obviously a blow for him because he wanted 200s in the match, but for Nottinghamshire it hasn't turned out too badly at all, because Clark scored so quickly. Young with that boundary moves to 63.
Jazz Singh in again. Young again drops it on the leg side. I don't think there'll be 2 here. He's hit it too firm. Andy Easom, Dave, I wish Will Young was here for the remainder of the season. If I've read the Black Cap schedule correctly, he might be available for the whole of next season if something can be sorted. There's Andy, clearly a Will Young fan. The only Astro is with us from Bunbury in Western Australia. Good day, he says. Good day. 280 for 2. Jazz Singh bowls. And Joe Clark has just thumped this into his instep and hobbles around for a moment, doesn't get a run. The Astro. Good day, Dave. Astro from Bunbury. Tuning in for the final day of this county match with Kent. How long do you expect Notts to bat and put Kent into the driving seat to see an unlikely win? Well, 280 for 2. I think Ben would probably say it would be an unlikely win from here. But it'll be interesting to see their approach. Matt Quinn's going to come into the attack.
I think Notts are missing a trick here. I think they should have ducked out by now. I don't think Kent are going to chase 300 plus today, and the longer they go on, the more Kent are not even going to try. So unless Notts truly believe that Kent won't try regardless, then I don't know. I don't really see the point then still being out there, to be honest.
Captains do tend to be a little cautious normally. Notts have had their fingers burnt once this season with an overly generous declaration.
Quinn then replacing Joey Everson, bowling very wide of the off stump, too wide.
Richard Dawson has sent the clip in of some nifty footwork from Will Young. I'll have a look later, Richard. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Mark Muggerseff, come on Notts, you can do this, he says. 281 for 2.
Kent's over 8 is back to 0.
Oh yeah.
Quinn's running back to his mark just to make sure. As he's past the umpire and bowling, a short ball which Young can't help on its way. He's got 64 from 59.
In running.
Clark 65 from 33.
See, the umpires like this. They like this. They like to see that a side is making it. Mind you, what's happening now?
Oh, you know when you're playing junior cricket and you all swap round one.
Well,
in terms of position,
it's musical chairs as well. When the music stops, you can stand still. They're all moving round.
They've got 2 third men now because of the line that Quinn's bowling wide outside the off stump, chasing this one Young and failing to get bat on ball.
Musical chairs. Oh, it's volleyball, isn't it? After each point, we'll all move round one. Are everybody on the fence? Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3,
now
4 on the leg side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the offside. Everybody is on the rope. Drop it and run 2, boys.
Quinn again, pulling wide of the off stump, driven away. They should get 2 here. In fact, they're only going to take 1. Good fielding from Joey Everson. Not the worst thing to keep Clark on strike anyway.
Pint for the marker. 65 each.
282 for 2. 316 the lead. I wonder if Stephen Mullaney, is that him who's just parked himself out in the Notts balcony, front and centre-ish? He's going to get the binoculars out. Slower ball from Quinn, which Clark is unable to fetch.
No, I can see Tom Moore's the only one I can see in white. In fact, I can see Brett Hutton inside in whites.
Who's that front and centre in the yellow?
That's the strength and conditioning coach, Liam Price.
Here comes Quinn. Bowling to Clark, moves across his stumps, cuts this one away down towards third man. Blake should field this in the deep. They will come back for 2. Good running once more. It's been a decent over this from Matt Quinn though. He's managed to hide the ball outside off stump and stop any boundaries. Clark will move across his stumps, you would think, trying to tempt Quinn to go straight, and then he can fetch it to the short boundary. Quinn has to be disciplined here. Ball's full and wide. It's a attempted Yorker, but it's a full toss which has been driven out to leaning. Only 1 run will be taken. End of another over.
Seba Meads on the balcony. Kevin Shine, the bowling coach, is on the balcony, but no sign of the skipper. Can see Lyndon James still in his gold training top, and under normal circumstances, or in the first innings anyway, he came in at 7, so he's not quite ready to have a bat or a bowl. So they're going to go on a bit longer. 83 overs remain in the day, or a minimum of, provided the weather doesn't intervene. The floodlights are on. Jas Singh bowls, and a really good delivery right up in the block hole, and all Joe Clark can do is just jab his bat down on it, and Singh will field off his own bowling. Your 12 o'clock's looking a pretty good shout, Ben, even though you weren't sure. Singh again. This is his 9th over, and Clark will slam this down the ground. Just a single.
Yeah, didn't quite get hold of it.
No. 286 for two. Clark 69, Young 65. They've added 109.